So, amidst various other things, and welcome to anyone that is tuning in, by the way, amidst various other things, I wanted to talk about a variety of different subjects. Now, the first three that I wanted to sort of harp on about uh, today is the does should only the US have nukes essentially, which is a big question at the moment. And should the US accept a nuclear Iran? And does the US president have too much power centrally? And so, if you agree or disagree, tell me in the chat. And if you want, I can, of course, bring you up and would be happy to chat with you about this. For those of you that are familiar somewhat with what I'm about, you'll know that I am pro US. And so, at least with now, that doesn't mean I'm not critical of the US, but I am pro US. So anyone who is uh, disagrees or whatever, please, by all means, join in, call in, and let me know your thoughts, and we can have a wonderful discussion despite disagreeing. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Uh, good to see you. Welcome. Certain familiar faces. So yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about, like I said, is uh, should the US have be the only one to have nukes? Now, I'm going to cause a bit of controversy with my point, and it is this: yes, I do believe only the US should have nukes. I don't believe anyone else, Israel included, I might add, Britain included, and especially France, should have nukes. I don't believe anyone else should have nukes in terms of the world. And for two reasons. The main reason is the checks and balances the US has in place that, quite frankly, others just don't. They don't have those checks and balances in place. The second reason, which might be surprising to many of you, is because there is only one country that has used these weapons ever, and that is the US. We often forget about that. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and these were awful acts of evil against perfectly innocent people. Now, counterintuitively, what I would argue is that that is reason for the US to only be the one to have nukes. Why? Because, in spite of their checks and balances, they made a tremendous blunder, a tremendous mistake, and learned from it. France, for example, in their poisoning of Tahiti, have not learned from their mistakes because of the structural nature of French civil society, and the French state. The structural nature of the US state means that although at times awful, evil mistakes can be made, there is also an ability to learn from said mistakes. And so, therefore, the US has proven that. The US, after the evil, heinous acts of nuclear warfare against Hiroshima and Nagasaki, two civilian populations, went ahead and rebuilt the area. They lifted up all of the radioactive soil, topsoil, took it all away. They repaired the cities. They built up the economy of Japan to make it bigger and better than before. And so, why do I say this? Because France never did this for Tahiti. Never. And I think that's important for people to sort of take into account, is that there is an ability on the part of the US, however imperfect, to rectify wrongs and to make uh, bad things, the things that they did that were wrong, right. And so that is what I would say with regards to the US. I feel similarly about the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, unlike the Mormon Church, for example, has that ability to rectify wrongs that have been done structurally and uh, have done this in the past. Pope, I think it was Francis, apologized for the awful treatment of Indigenous children in certain orphanages and stuff in Canada. Oh, we thank you, sweet Aotearoa, thank you. Mana, you are requesting to join. Thank you. Let me just see. How do I do this? Bishop Mac, kia ora, Stable. Thank you, thank you. Kia ora, kia ora. Good to see you, Bishop Max. Knox, how's it going, Snowball? Very good, thank you. How are you? How are you there, Knox? Thank you again for the fan club thing. Let me try and get this guest thing going because I don't know how the hell this thing works. Cabin fever. Tēnā koe, Snow. Thank you. Tēnā koe. Uncle Spooks. Don't agree with any of that. Actually, that's insane thinking. Uh, please, by all means, tell me. Hang on, let me. I think I can do this. Oh, yes, there we go. Accept. Okay, lovely. I mastered
Yes,
it.
she did.
Thank you.
Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe, Snowball. Been a while since I've been on your panel.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you again. Always a pleasure to have you. Oh, did I mute you or? Oh, hang on, let me just.
No, I muted myself. No. But I just wanted to just thank you for bringing me up. Um, I always find, you know, conversation space with you uh, rather, yeah, rather interesting to say the least. But also, yeah, enlightening, I guess, and everything else that comes with it. But yeah, just I've only been in about 5 minutes, and so I'm unaware of your conversation or your content. You know, prior to the 5 minutes that I've been on, and I just caught the is it the Catholic Church? Um, yes, spin that you kind of like just you know just shared.
Yes.
So and that's why I immediately kind of like pressed the request button. So so I'll just you were on that topic.
Yes, I
So
was. I was talking about the Catholic Church, and basically, I was using that as an example of. So originally, I was talking about America and how the thing about the U.S. is um, they're an empire and they're not perfect, and there's been many horrible things that they've done and continue to do, and there's a lot of legitimate critiques to be made about them. But my point was is that I believe we as Polynesians should align with them more so than, say, with France, who are just absolutely heinous and horrible and have just, I mean, what they've done to Tahiti and so on and so forth with their nuclear bombs and stuff. It's just terrible. And they've never apologized and they never will apologize. And the reason why is because of the structural nature of their government and their civil society. And this is not the case with the US. There is room for wrongs to be made right, however slow and painful that process is. Similarly, this is also the case with the Catholic Church. The Pope, for example, Pope Francis personally apologized for the awful, evil treatment of Indigenous children in boarding schools in North America and in Canada in particular. And I mean, there's no doubt that what happened was absolutely evil, and I'm not on board with anyone that tries to deny what happened. But my point is, an apology was made, an attempt at rectification was made, and so what you have is, I'm just pointing out the differences. Whereas, for example, let's say the Mormon Church, who have a history of racism, and I'm not here to talk badly about Mormons per se, but they've never apologized and in fact said they never will. Their current leader, Dallin Oaks, once said, "We are not in the business of asking for apologies, nor do we give them." And so, again, it's in line with Tūmatauenga and Rongomatane. We have to understand that we can't have it all, and that you take the good with the bad. And so, what I'm talking about is, where do we get the best deal, or rather the least bad deal, so to speak? And I believe that as Polynesians, uh, sort of getting in bed with America, to use rather crude language, I think is the better deal to be made. One group of Māori that I'm an admirer of, that a lot of people might be surprised to hear, is the Kupapa Māori during the New Zealand land wars, because they did exactly that. They aligned with an empire that was essentially, for all intents and purposes, the least bad around. And I think that was a good choice. 275 Kolo. Your stance on politics makes no sense. Then please come up. I'd love to have you up to discuss this. What exactly do you not uh, uh,
Can I just say something in response, Snowball, to
yes.
what you've just shared? Just to actually distract you from, the opinions, that often we get distracted from inside the chat.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I mean, so I guess it brings me to uh, I guess this. Well, yeah, I guess this opinion from my perspective. What I kind of like sense and feel, uh, the space and time we're in right now, and that's globally, is the evil in this world right now is genuinely unparalleled. And I'm not talking about a bit of corruption or politicians lying or the usual surface level nonsense people argue about. I'm talking about a world that is being run, controlled, and protected by child trafficking networks, satanic PD files, ritual abuse, blackmail rings, and those kind of like sick, Well, I don't even know if you could call them humans, and who worship darkness like it's their entire identity. So these aren't just random bad people. These people are organized. They're structured. They're funded. They're protected. You know, it's a generational, thing that's been woven into the governments, the courts, the media, the police, entertainment, finance. The whole rotten system. Has and you know continues to be fulfilled by design. And that's why it never really gets dealt with properly because the system isn't broken. The system is working exactly how it was designed to work. And people, honestly think that the masses, the public, are going to do anything about it? No, because the public are docile, mentally castrated, and programmed. They'll scream online for a couple of days and share a post and go back to their comfy little routine and pretend it's not real. The moment you name celebrities, uh, you know, politicians, etc., most people shut down instantly because they're still worshipping idols, you know, like those parasites. They'll defend the system, the actors, the singers, the presenters, the politicians, the one percenters that actually control and have the masses, for so long now. It is we're clearly surrounded by filth. Scandals, dead end investigations, and suspicious connections, and even when it's obvious, people still don't want to believe it because it means admitting they've been lied to for their entire lives. So they'd rather stay asleep.
Yeah.
They'd rather stay comfortable and they'd rather keep streaming music and watching films and clapping like seals for the same effing parasites. But here's the part most people can't handle. And when you wait until you start finding out about what goes on beneath the surface, and I'm not speaking metaphorically, literally beneath the first surface. Underground churches, underground networks, hidden altars, places where they don't just abuse children, they destroy them. Thousands have been sacrificed, and it's like a religion. It's like a tradition. Like, you know, so you wait until you start learning about that. The underground cities, the deep military bases and tunnels, and, where sick, twisted, freak experiments take place. And children are treated like lab rats. The harvesting, the feeding, the torturing, the eating. That sort of shit that makes your blood run cold and your mind want to reject it because it's too evil to even process. And that's why most people never go there. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And we may be witnessing, the so-called, great paradigm shift of awakening. But let's be real. Most people don't have the spine for it. The average person can't hold focus. A distraction comes along and they forget. A new war, a new virus, a new celebrity drama, a new monarchy, get, thrown under the, Epstein, bus, a new headline, and then memory resets like a goldfish. Oh, what was that? Uh, you know, uh, they won't demand accountability. They won't demand arrests. And they won't demand tribunals. So that means that they won't demand the truth. They won't even stop funding it. They'll still pay their taxes. They'll still worship the machine. They'll still worship the chip, the microchip, and feed the beast. And like I says, they'll still comply like good little slaves. I don't talk about this too much because once you actually go down that rabbit hole properly, it's beyond disturbing. It's not just bad people, and it's not even just evil. It's depraved, twisted, ritualistic, systematic. Epstein is the tip of the iceberg.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
actually,
absolutely. Yeah, he is.
Epstein is just a pebble,
Yeah, no, I know.
just a pebble
Yeah,
on the shoreline compared to the ocean of what's really out there. So
yeah,
what's really out there is older, bigger, deeper, and more protected than most people can even comprehend. It's bloodlines, it's occult networks, it's blackmail operations, it's trafficking pipelines, it's people being treated as products, and it's children being treated as currency. These people are not just sick, bro. They are the most depraved, evil pieces of shit you could ever imagine. They don't have souls. They don't have a conscience. They don't have humanity. Half of them don't even feel human. They wear human skin and speak human language, but their spirit is void. And that's why they can do what they do: sleep at night and get up the next day and smile on a red carpet, shake hands in Parliament, or sit on a TV pretending they're saving the world. This world is run by demons in suits. And until the masses stop funding it, stop worshipping it, and start standing the F up, it will continue because evil survives when good people keep pretending it isn't real.
yeah, yeah. No, you're right.
I'll just leave it at that.
The Franklin cover up. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff uh, that is out there. You know, I think if people were to look that up right now, the Franklin cover up, you will be horrified. You'll be shocked. And it's not a case of like, because there's obviously BS conspiracy theories out there, crazy conspiracy theories that are just not true, that are just made up nonsense. But this is not one of them. The Franklin cover up is one of those things that if you, yeah, I'll spell it out for you. Actually, I might even get a wiki link. If you look it up, it will horrify you when you look it up. And here's the crazy thing about the Franklin cover up as well: is most of these made up conspiracy theories rely on BS like uh, what's it called, repressed memories, where someone will say that they have a repressed memory. So something tragic happened to them when they were a kid. They don't remember it, but then through hypnosis, the memory comes out. It's total BS, by the way. Don't believe any of that. That's pseudoscience. The Franklin cover up doesn't rely on that. It relies on credible witnesses who remembered the abuse that they went through and came forward and talked about it. And even a high ranking senator investigated it, John DeCamp, and John DeCamp came away convinced that what happened was real, but it was covered up. I'll spell it for you in the thing. I think it's Franklin with a Y. Yeah, known as the Franklin banking scandal because it came out when yeah, okay, yeah. So the individual at the heart of it was a man called Lawrence E. King Jr. I'm going to put his name in the thing. There we go. It's in the yes, Sneep Cedar. That's exactly right. And so Lawrence E. King Jr. is the one at the heart of it. And basically, what happened was he was in charge of some bank or whatever. There was a whole bunch of fraud, and then he was investigated for it. And with the investigation of that uh, alleged fraud came forward all of these allegations of satanic ritual abuse and so on and so forth, in which there had been satanic rituals used as part of the harming, I got to use TikTok language here, of innocent children. And so, yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy stuff. It's absolutely crazy. And a Discovery Channel documentary was made about it called Conspiracy of Silence. Look that up. I'll spell it for you in the thing. Discovery Channel documentary called Conspiracy of Silence. And Conspiracy of Silence was made. They interviewed the people, blah, blah, blah. You can actually watch it on YouTube if you type it in. But only one copy survived. They had a whole bunch of tapes, and they were told by high up people, the Discovery Channel, that you got to destroy this material. And so they destroyed it all by a certain date. But luckily, one tape got out, and that managed to get onto YouTube, and then has since been replicated. And so you can find the documentary online. It's horrific stuff, and it has all of the evidence about exactly what Mana here was talking about. And so, yeah, crazy, crazy
That's that.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's that. When you go to see it, you can't unsee it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the disturbing. The disturbing facts is that just I'll just ask you this question: do you know much about the 300 Club of Rome?
No, no, I don't know too
Okay,
much.
so yeah, okay, so it's like it's a Vatican Jesuit United Nations think tank, and its members sit, on the Jesuits Council of what is called 300. So in 1996, a 368 page document was released by like this, like they're known as the Jesuit Order. It's like the Society of Jesus, United Nations think tank, and they released this, and that was the releasing of what is considered today as the Agenda 21. So that's what that 368. I've actually got that in my files. I mean, you can't get that. You can't go and Google that anymore. You can give
No,
it a
no.
go, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
they
I
don't have
don't
it.
think because. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I got it. I
Yeah,
got it. I locked that away in when was it 19. It was like 1999, about 3 years after. Anyway, so like it's like I guess to give it more context, in 1980, the Luciferian Vatican Jesuits, they came up with what was to like be called they called they're the inventors and creators of the man-made global warming slash climate change lie. That's what they came up with, and that was in 1980. The Luciferian Vatican Jesuits came up sort of like from the shadowy pit, and out on and into the open with their unveiling of what they consider to be their evil Luciferian Georgia Guidestones monument. You can try and look that up. And it was written on their monument that there were 10 evil Luciferian commandments, and that the first commandment called for the mass global G-side, uh, uh, like depopulation. Or it was really like a population reduction,
yeah,
to put it nicely, uh, where their aim was 90% of the masses. And so because they had to come up with like the propaganda, the misinformation, the lie. That's why it's called the great lie. And that in 1990 they published their first global revolution report, and in it it stated that human overpopulation was leading to over use of fossil fuels, leading to man-made global warming, which was killing the planet, and stated that the enemy of humanity itself was actually indeed humanity, and that they also stated that the only solution in saving the planet was mass global, reduction, of the population.
Yeah, no,
You know,
you're right. You're absolutely
well,
right.
more common,
Yeah. And I don't
yeah,
know anything about the Jesuits being involved with the Georgia Guidestones, but I do know about the Georgia Guidestones themselves, and this is what the inscriptions say on it. It's absolute lunatic stuff. Maintain
yeah,
humanity
yeah,
under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, unite humanity with a living new language, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court, avoid petty laws and useless officials, balance personal rights with social duties, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature, leave room for nature. Sounds,
yeah,
sort of okay, right?
yeah,
Except for
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
except for the first part where it says under 500 million. Well, then what's going to happen to the other 6.5 billion people in the world? What do you do with them? You know?
Well, that's why I said they're the inventors and creators of, like it's called they call it the man-made global warming climate change lie. They had to come up, right, to justify that report you just, read up, because in the end, that little bit of information you shared, that is inside the 368 page document that was released by them. See, the Guidestones, that's who released that, is the Jesuit order. They're, like I said, they're a Vatican, United Nation think tank. Now, I just to kind of like bring it, out of that, that rabbit hole, and you know, I take it back to what I just shared. The evil, that's unparalleled right now. That's unfolding for for the masses. Like I says, they're none the wiser, and if
Mm.
they are, it's they can't fathom just what is, it's like it's hidden from the all-seeing eye, because unfortunately, it's aligned with, like I says, the everything that's taking place globally right now, um, is in order to usher in that order, that new world, one world government, military, et cetera, order. And that's part of the Agenda 21 2030. And this coalition government, they're just but a pawn in a more sinister global elitist reset agenda that are hell bent on orchestrating a full and final new world order settlement. And that's why our coalition government have been so out the gate, up their assholes and doing what they've been doing, because they're part of that 300 Jesuit order, bro. The governments that are all attached, the monarchies that are all attached, the Zionists, you know what I mean? The whole, you know, evil lot, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, they're all part of that whole, you know, um, settlement order. And see, once once you understand the final destination, of these, evil people, it becomes much easier for you to look back and identify the psychological conditioning, the biological tampering, cultural grooming, and educational prepping that we've all been subjected to for decades and centuries. And it's all in preparation to make us accept a post-human future. And I tell you, bro, it's taken a lot of physical and psychological abuse to get an intelligent people like ourselves to agree to its own extinction, you know? And for
Yeah,
most of
yeah,
us, and you know, I'm talking about probably 2 to 3 generations that are, you know, that are here in the here and in the now, the tyranny in which these three cockwombles, Luxon, Seymour, and Peters have been blindsiding this country with through their fast tracking of all the bullshit. You know, it's all being orchestrated by the multi international corporations imposing processes, you know, purely designed to get us closer to accepting, you know, such a dystopian reality. So whether we care to accept it or not, we live in a hyper-controlled matrix where our perception of reality, yeah, it's being and has been meticulously by design, and it's all
yeah,
being planned, managed, and executed in order to control and steer us in whichever direction they wish. And that direction is a post-human world. So, for their design to achieve its desired outcome, they first needed to destabilize, dehumanize, and demoralize humanity through every means and ways possible. The dismantling and destruction to the nucleus of whānau. You know, they know that our children are the heart and soul of our very existence and our future. So control the mind of the people by fear mongering, pretend they have your best interests at heart, you know, by lying and propaganda and, you know, gaslighting bullshit. You'll become a compliant Neanderthal, you know, because you're
exactly. Yeah.
conditioned to believe the unbelievable.
Well, we just
And
got a
this has
guest on,
been
so I just
an
wanted to welcome him. So
eradication
if we
policy.
could just have him introduce himself, sorry. And yes,
All right.
Hemi,
Kia
uh,
ora.
kia ora, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself and what did you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, so, should I say the Māori or just in English?
English for, because,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm Hemi, bro. I'm from Gizzy. Yeah. Oh, no, I just heard the conversation and I was just interested in what you were talking about, sort of thing.
yeah, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Don't really
Yeah, no, me and Mano, yeah, we're just talking about all this stuff and Georgia Guidestones and all that. I just wanted to answer someone's question. Smashy B, he was, how are they all attached? So, just to answer your question there, Smashy B, what it is you have these elite sort of corporations, and you know Elon Musk, for example, he talks about it, and they openly talk about becoming post-human, that we should sort of transcend our bodies. Uh, uh, so that's what they openly talk about. And for decades now, the likes of Bill Gates, who's in the Epstein files, I might add, have been talking about how we need to severely reduce the population of humanity and so on and so forth. And this is just lunatic crazy talk. What's actually better is having people having children, or lots of children, is a good thing for everyone, but they want to reduce the number and then make the number that exists post human. And if you don't believe me, I would ask you to look up number one, the Georgia Guidestones, and number two, a thinker called Nick Bostrom. He is a philosopher out of Oxford University, a Swedish philosopher, and he wrote a book called Anthropic Bias Observation, Selection, Effects in Science and Philosophy, as well as his most latest one, Superintelligence, Paths, Dangers, and Strategies. And he was the one that came up with the simulation hypothesis, this idea that we're living in a simulation and all that. So look into Nick Bostrom, who is a big influence on the likes of Elon Musk and a lot of these corporate elites, who have this bizarre sort of hatred of the human body and of human beings, humanity, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's as interconnected as Mana was saying. We're sort of agreeing on most things, but coming at this from two different angles. But yeah, I do agree that there is an agenda to reduce the amount of people on the planet. I think that's obvious. And in particular, certain kinds of people. You have Bill Gates, for example, saying there's too many Africans. Well, that's racist. Think about it. That's racist. To say that, oh, there's too many Africans. So I've never liked Bill Gates, to be honest. I've always thought he was a weasel, a piece of crap, and turns out time's proven me right. Yes, Smashy B, that's a real quote from him. Sorry there, Mana. I'll just there we go. I think you can. Okay, yes, you can turn on your mic whenever you want, and yes. China is the most overpopulated, or India. So the thing is, and I'm actually going to write about this soon on my Substack, Seven Commandments. Overpopulation is BS. There's actually no such thing as overpopulation. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you understand land distribution and things like that, then what you understand is that number one, having a large population is a good thing. That's what our ancestors told us, remember? The gods command us to procreate. Little girls, when born, were dedicated to which goddess? Hinete Iwa Iwa, the goddess of fertility. So, our tipuna understood lots of people is a good thing. So that's number one. A large population is a good thing. Number two, like I said, there is no such thing as overpopulation. It's bullshit. It's a complete myth. And like I said, I'll write about it on my Substack to try and explain it more fully, what exactly I'm talking about. 275 kolo, not really. What do you mean, not really? It's true. Both of my points are true. The Ngā Atua and Ngā Tipuna command us as Polynesians, as Māori, to procreate. That having kids is a good thing. And like I said, there is no such thing as overpopulation. Whata leka tau malolo. Thank you. 275 kolo. Overpopulation is good if you can support the populace. That's exactly my point. It's got nothing to do with the fact that you have X amount of people. It's that you have X amount of people organized and living in such a way that's not conducive to the environment. So they're two different things. But like I said, actually, a large population is a good thing. It's a really good thing. So we want more of everyone. We want more Māori. We want more Polynesians. We want more Pākehā. We want more Indians. We want more of everyone. More. More is better.
Many hands make light work, Eva.
Exactly, Hemi, exactly. So you believe India is a good example, 275 kolo? Yes, I do actually. In terms of procreation and how many kids that they like to have, hell yes, I do. You know who else I think is a good example on this particular subject? The Mormons. Man, they can have kids. They know how to breed. And I love that. I think that's a good thing. Yes, she is the fertility goddess. Whataleka Taumalolo. Hine te Iwa Iwa is the goddess of fertility. My source for that is the Tohunga Te Rangi Kāheke in his book, Ngā Tama Arangi. So that's my source for saying Hine te Iwa Iwa is the goddess of fertility. So basically, this is how it works in traditional Māoritanga. It is a duty for women to have kids. It is preferable for men to have kids. But then at the same time, it is a duty for men to go to war and things like that. So we have different roles, if that makes sense. We have complementing roles. 275 kolo, how can that be? Look at how Indians live, hygiene, drinking water, etc. So, first off, that's much more nuanced than you just made out. Parts of India are clean, parts of India are not, just like Aotearoa. The other thing as well is it's not the number, it's how they are organized, how the economy is structured, and so on and so forth. The other thing as well is India has had phenomenal economic growth in the last 50 years. We haven't. Okay? And so, why is that? Because they got a lot of people. And that's why they have a growing population. Nux. Ed Hemi, do you mind muting or just while having your snack? Fata leka tau malolo. All female children were dedicated to her. Yes, that's right. Just as all male children were dedicated to Tūmatoinga. 275 kolo, but that money stays with the top 1%. Exactly, you're right, and that's why I'm a communist. I'm a communist, I'm a pagan, and I want lots of people, okay? Lots and lots of people. I want Māori to increase their numbers. I want white people to increase their numbers. I want Asians to increase their numbers. I want everyone to be a large population, and I want everyone to be rich. That's basically it. I'm a communist, I'm a pagan, and I'm an anarchist. Nux. NZ moves so slow in terms of...
What do you mean by rich?
Uh,
You want everyone to be rich. Rich in...
materially wealthy. That's what I mean by I want everyone to be rich. 275 kolo, come up and let's have a kōrero. I've tried to invite you, but you keep turning your thing off. You keep making it so I can't invite you, so come up and we can have a good kōrero. Uh, 275 kolo. I'm not a streamer either. I'm just a guy called Snowball. Yeah, so I want everyone to be rich. What do I mean by that? I mean to have at hand the material needs accessible. So you shouldn't have to worry about healthcare and all of these sort of things. We need these things. Broad economic justice. We should have, and so I'm a big supporter of workers' unions, tenants' unions, debtors' unions, so on and so forth. I'm a big supporter of infrastructure, of large populations, of markets, of deregulation in many aspects, of getting rid of IP laws, of getting rid of many different taxes, of entrepreneurship. I'm a huge supporter of all of these things because this is how people enrich themselves and their families and so on and so forth. So I'm a big supporter of all of that. And so I want to see Māori cooperatives, worker cooperatives, and I want to see Māori businesses and self-employed Māori and a Māori credit union and so on and so forth.
And a Pākehā population, a Indian population, immigrant population, to prosper in that idea or ideology you're sharing of
yeah, absolutely.
Material wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone.
So from the beggar in the street, the homeless man in the street, the homeless, right through to, the rich, healthy and wealthy, and material wealth.
Yeah.
No in between.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I want everyone.
What do you think that would um, uh, entail to have everyone living in equal rights and justice life in this system that that you're asking for in the form of you know wealth, material wealth, because that's a huge undertaking, even a huge ask.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
look at a place like India, India that have the greatest population on the face of the planet. They live in a fifth world state of, you know what I mean? It's not even a third. It's past the third stage phase
Um,
of
that's a bit more
poverty
nuanced.
and
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
what's sir?
India is much more nuanced than that. That's a common perception, and it's not actually entirely true.
It's actually a reality. It's a
It
reality.
it is. I'm not entirely disagreeing with you, but if you look at this living standard of India 70 years ago, it was a hell of a lot worse than it is now. So India is a work in progress, contrary to popular belief. Um, in large part because of the infrastructure that what was his name? Jawaharlal, I can't remember his name, but he was the first independence prime minister, and he industrialized the country. And so India is actually on an upward trajectory. So yes, where they are at, there's a lot of problems, but there's not as many problems as there used to be. They used to have an average life expectancy of I think it was 35. Now their life expectancy is in the 60s. It's still too young, I will grant, but that's a hell of an improvement. And so India is sort of often portrayed as, the sort of downtrodden country. And in many ways, that's true. I'm not denying it. But there's been a lot of progress, and the progress is uneven as well. That's the other part. Different parts of India are more developed than other parts, and some parts of India up to the same standard as first world countries, for example. Um, and some parts of India, they have a higher standard of living than we do in Aotearoa. So it depends. It's complex. It's nuanced, is what I'm saying. But yes, there are definitely horrific parts of India with horrific gang violence and poverty and disease. Not denying that. I would never deny that. But it's more nuanced. It's more nuanced than is often portrayed. Much more nuanced. It's actually
Mm,
275 Kolo.
interesting.
It's actually an entire state of India that live better than New Zealand, and I'll look them up for you right now. Um, Kerala. It's called Kerala. That's the part of India where their living standard is actually higher than New Zealand. They also have a communist party there as well. And what's amazing about
Hey,
Kerala?
Snowball. Uh,
Yes,
Snowball. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around um, the nuance that you're speaking of. In this sense, you know, your, I guess, your narrative in wanting or see, the material wealth create a better well-being. It's limited. You know what I mean? It's a limited, you know, perception, because what I had mentioned earlier is, do you want that for those that, what about the ones that can't achieve, through, inequality? And I mean, I'm talking about the system. because you're literally talking about, the wealth of a system that creates that ideology of, you having material wealth, is that the answer to, living, in what you'd call the most sophisticated society, that's ever been created on the face of the planet.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I don't think that the wealth that exists today is because of capitalism. I actually disagree with that premise. But even if so, I think that you have as much of a right to it as the elites do, and that you. This is the way that I look at it. Okay, the world is like a giant apple pie. Okay, and there's a slice in it for you, and you're being denied that by many different systems and stuff put in place, which are in there to serve the elites. And that's my view, is that you should have a slice of that. And there is a baseline material universal standard that just ought to be for everyone. So here's an example: housing. I don't believe in rentals. I believe that the state should provide everyone with housing. Now, some of people might scream and be like, no, you can't have that, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's an example of it being extremely successful. Two examples, actually: Austria and Singapore. And a funny thing happened in Austria where, you often hear that, like, oh, if you provide people with free housing, then they're not going to do anything because they're just going to be lazy. Actually, they found the opposite, that when people didn't have to worry about day to day bills, they became more productive. Isn't that interesting? Because they were now able to do what they want to do. Everyone has things that they're interested in, things that they want to do, things that they want to work on. If you think about it, laziness is a bullshit word. There are no lazy people. There's dissatisfied people. That's what is people need to understand. And so what they found in both Austria and Singapore was that when people's housing was secured, they were more willing to go to work. They were more willing to do X, be self-employed, do whatever, create art even, you know. And so I'm a big supporter of uh, the government providing state housing for everyone. Smashy B, does communist mean zero private enterprise? No, no, it doesn't. That's a common misconception. Smashy B. In his book, Das Kapital, Matua Karl Marx defines communism as, quote, a dictatorship of the proletariat, which means, okay, if we just translate that into normal language, that means worker cooperatives instead of corporations and credit unions instead of banks. That's what it means. It was Vladimir Lenin that came along and said, we need to have a workers' state that owns everything. And by the way, the state needs to be a dictatorship, and I have to be the dictator. So, in other words, Lenin gets to own everything. But that's
Can,
not how
can I
Marx
ask you a
defined it.
question, bro?
Yes, please.
Sorry. Yeah. Can I just, so no snowball. Do you know much about Gaddafi and Libya and how the system that he created for his people there? Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, I'm very
You know,
sympathetic.
and that wasn't through dictatorship. That was through compassion, kindness, and making sure that his people, in the system that delivers you the right, your sovereign right to everything that that man set in place. He set in place because in the end, why, he was literally taken out was because it was no different to what Ruakenana had, created in Ruatahuna and Maunga Poatu, created an alternative system that was independent outside the jurisdiction of colonial settler, hers Majesty's Royal Service, bullshit, that have clearly, created the system that we are now, jumping up, how high, King Charles, because, you know what I mean? It's like, there, to me, there is an alternative system. It's just not, given its rightful, place to be able to establish that because of the injustice of Crown law that, that have just been, pulling us along, as we chase after the carrot. And that
I fully
you
agree
will
with you.
see that ultimately down the track, you can use every other indigenous country as an example to where, especially the Latin Americans, they live within their own culture, they live within their own language, and yet they're third world countries and that their people are homeless. They're beggars, 60-year-old beggars out on the street. You know what I mean? Because that system that is operating inside those countries, those are the examples of where colonization, it got a grip of their ancestors. And you can see that unfolding here with what economically is, running, our, our authority, our leadership, so-called, you know what I mean? And, whether they're Tūhoe, whether they're the Runanga of Ngāti Awa or Naitahu o Tainui, that kind of wealth or well-being, it ain't going to go to the bottom. So what happens to all them? They're going to end up, right, there, out, on the other side of prosperity. So that alternative that's why right here, right now, we're literally at that point. We're on the precipice of whether we're going to go together in te kotahitanga, or, you know what I mean, te kotahitanga for the filthy few. I'll call them the filthy few in the air, because they're going to end up exactly like the CEO that has that $1 million home there on stolen land, up above on the hill, you know what I mean, that's got a swimming pool and blah, 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 go with the effing group. It's already, this precedents have been set all around the world, especially within indigenous countries, even in Southeast Asia, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia. They have beggars. They have people that don't have, they live over the water. They shit inside the water that they literally got almost drink out of, because the system does not cater for them. You are the done and dusted. You are the filthy scum, but you're my relation. You speak the same language. You look the same as me, but you're not in the same class as I am, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so to sort of unpack what you were saying, and I agree with you, one thing we must remember, and I'm just saying this for the sake of the audience, I know you know this already, Ruakinana made a lot of mistakes. And so, before we go any further, I just want to bring up a favourite philosopher of mine called Jacques Lacan. I like to refer to him as Matua.
Ora, before you go any further, I'm a descendant of Ruakinana. That's all I'd say.
No, well then you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
A direct descendant.
Yes. So, Jacques Lacan talked about, Matua Lacan, as I like to call him, talks about in one of his seminars, the husband who was obsessed with his wife cheating on him. And what he says is that the husband is neurotic, even if he's right that she's cheating on him. And what does he mean by that? He doesn't mean that the wife is right in what she's doing. That's not what he means. But what is it that the husband isn't bringing that incentivized her to go elsewhere? What is about him? And that's sort of what he's meaning. And I love this kōrero from Mātua Lakan because I always think about it for myself that if I am to fail at something, the last thing I want is it to be because of something I could have helped, something that I could have changed about me or whatever, and but I didn't. And so if I am to fail, in the words of our ancestors, it is to be at the foot of a lofty mountain, and not because my own feet are brittle, if that makes sense. And so when we look at, say, Ruakenana, who achieved a lot, but one of the things that he did actively was he uh, had this philosophy of testing tapu, and he would deliberately violate tapu, essentially. And this upsetted a lot of the chiefs of Tūhoe who were angry at him. Now, his philosophy may have had good grounding because his whole thing was like burning certain types of wood, for example, eating food in a cemetery. We need to test these boundaries to see if they are still relevant today. And so, very, very good kōrero. The problem was he went further, and there was the traditional prohibition on a tutua taking multiple wives. He went ahead and took 4 wives. And so that upset a lot of people within Tūhoe and essentially turned the chiefs of Tūhoe against him. Now, whether or not you think that was right or wrong of him to do, you can understand that people would think, he's just serving himself. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it kind of looks that way, you know. I have to have the burden of sleeping with 4 women, you know, simultaneously. This is such a burden, but I need to do it. And so you can see how people would sort of not like that. And similarly with Gaddafi, he did a lot of good, that is true, but he also did intense, horrific persecution of the Berber people, the indigenous Berber people. And so my point is that when we engage in when we engage in anything, we should always be self-critical. And so we should always be looking at what can I do better? What and basically fixing every leak that we have, if that makes sense. Every leaky tap, fix it. So that way, if the enemy is to defeat us, it is simply because of overwhelming odds rather than a weakness within. It's like the African saying, if the devil within is subdued, the devil without cannot win. And I'm a big believer in that. James, can you explain what tapu is? Sorry, brother. Tapu is traditional boundaries put in place, things that are forbidden. 275 kolo. So what do you believe the solution is to helping better run the country? One of the
Snowball, can I just respond if that's
yes,
okay to
yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it's debatable as to why, in the end, Ruakenana had his community invaded. You know, and yeah, no doubt the jealousy and envy of him, you know, having more than one lover, you know, slash wife, slash, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
But in the end, there were other reasons why the colonial armed forces came in, but that's another conversation. What I'm talking about is in respect to the perspective you've just shared, and to me, it is like where some people would prefer the unhealed version of you. And it's not because they're bad people or necessarily want the worst for you, but it's because the old you was familiar, predictable, and it fit the cycle that they knew. And that so growth growth fits the change when the rhythm you've made. Not everyone knows how to dance to that now, and so if you just keep on going, you've come so far, and that's a liken to Gaddafi. Not everyone actually knew who he was and what he was really all about. You can pick all the media hype, all the propaganda, the misinformation, but you really don't know, because you're only referencing to what I consider to be the greatest weapon of mass destruction is the media. That is the only way you and I can attain that type of information / knowledge. Or because I've read it, because the media, and so on and so forth. So, once you've come that far, it's sort of like every challenge that you've already met along your way, um, just keep going because you are the past, the present, and the future. And when you're grounded in who you are, what others think or say, it stops mattering. And to some people, belonging is something you earn or something others decide for you. But for me, whakapapa, my genealogy, my pūrākau, my creation stories, that because if you're listening with your eyes and not within yourself, then you'll only see what they see, and they'll only see pieces of you. They don't see everything else. It's like I says with Gaddafi and with Rua Kenana. We're only hearing, but there are voices that that share, the truth, and where, and who do you believe to be? What I mean, the truth, the undisputed truth. So when the noise of the world around you carries on, just know you don't have to prove nothing to anyone. You know what I mean? If that's what you're instilled in that belief, then that's all that should matter. And that's when you just you're able to stay the line. And I guess because you were just about to go into the conversation of responding to oh, sorry, no, I had you in the, to, is it next? You're responding about the tapu, stuff
Yes.
like that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, uh, you know, just my little, piece before I mute up so you can carry on. So there is an order to life that existed long before we even, came into te kore, into the void of nothingness, and that was the noa and the tapu. You know what I mean? The nothingness and the sacredness. So um, it's like whenever the noa, is is it remains in balance, right, with the tapu. That is when harmony, is and peace and all that is you're in the you're in the same lane as the noa and the tapu. The moment the tapu is broken, as you had missed, something collapses, and a state of emptiness and imbalance that follows that violation is when tapu, so despite it not being symbolic, it holds the mana, that comes from the eternal source, the creator matua kore and so on. And the authority, that emerges from that source through the tapu, there is where the spiritual power holds active space and presence. So when the tapu is disregarded, the power can recede, the mana of it can recede, and the sustaining powers of the atua withdraw. And what is left is the noa, a condition that can affect a person and a family, in fact, a whole community. And this is the consequence of crossing spiritual boundaries. Not punishment, but the loss of balance
Yeah,
that once held life together.
that's right.
That is the order in Māori society.
Yeah.
And it was always upheld by the tapu, sacred law. It was not an option. It was the order that governed existence itself. And so tapu carries the mana of Io Matua, the eternal source of all life. So, the living forces that, animate the natural world through tapu, their authority is the mana, of that present. So their power sustained. So when tapu is upheld, life is held in alignment. People, land, community, and nature remain connected, nourished, and whole. But when tapu is violated, something vital withdraws. There is a compromise that ends up becoming a sacrifice, and that the sustaining force recedes, and what remains is the noa, a state of emptiness, imbalance, and spiritual disconnection. Noa is not freedom. It is absence. It is what occurs when responsibility is forgotten, ignored, and of all the boundaries, that are crossed without reverence.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And and that's exactly what we were talking about. Roa Kenana was his deliberate testing and in some cases violating of tapu. And there were other causes, of course. The colonial government never wanted him to be thriving in the first place. But I think we have to acknowledge that internal weakness, if you could call it that, existed. And that he was, rather flagrantly, if we're honest, violating tapu at times. And, this is going to have consequences. People, you can only get away with it for so long. And so, I fully agree with what you were saying. It's and again, so moving forward, we can't afford to be doing such things. Like I said, it's always helpful to be self-critical, to honor tapu, to not violate tapu, to be on your A game, so to speak. That's the important thing. Okay, we got someone in here, Jabs.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
Oh,
It's tapu, Jabs, TAPU, and it means sacred. So, I guess just in my final response before I step down, I want to thank you for having me up, bro. Um, you know, what I felt I needed to remember was that, when the Holy Roman Empire settled upon our people, and our ancestors, it was our sacred institutions that was broken down and replaced,
yeah,
but was never lost with the jaws of colonization. It is and will always continue to live inside the heart and mind of us. The moment we liberate the spiritual power of our minds, peace will be upon us and love will come back to reside in our hearts, which will, uplift the wairua. It will sanction, that your soul, your spirit, your wairua, has you've reconnected to it.
fully agree.
And it's simple. Bro, life isn't a complicated plan. Good is good, Bad is bad. Black is black and white. There's no gray area. You know, if you even think that, that's something that is, there's all kinds of levels of bad. There's an evil bad. To even think it, you've actually crossed the spiritual boundary and that law, sacred law.
Yeah,
And so just it's not a matter of if something is going to come back and teach you a lesson, but when.
yeah, yeah,
And unfortunately, there are going to be collateral damage, that you can't see, because if you don't know the tohu of what comes back. That's that old karma. Sort of, it comes back. Just mark my words. I'm still paying for the sins of my father
yeah,
and his father. You know, where does the buck stop? Right here. This is because this is where it stops. It has to. Otherwise, my uri, my descendants, they're going to pay for shit that I never cleaned up before I took either the great big walk to the pearly gates or fell over down the rabbit hole that became the pit. Yeah, because I guess that's the answer. That's something you have to answer. Yourself, being consciously aware. That well, you do that. You cross that spiritual boundary, you're in trouble. Not only you, your children, and your grandchildren, they're going to pay for that shit if you don't sort it out with the Atua, because make no mistake, whoever you've gone and insulted, even just within your or cursed, it's going to come back, because it's like this. Snowball, you F and this and you F and that. You know what I mean? It's like your kaitiaki has quickly turned, you know what I mean, to
yeah,
look at me and had gone and thrown that spiritual taiaha at me.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Boom, it's bounced off because I am who I am. I have some sort of armor, and where's it going to go? Eh? It's got to go somewhere. Yeah, boom. The tamariki, the most vulnerable. That's where. So when you see, you know, bad things happening, and unfolding for your children and your grandchildren, have a think at what the hell you've gone and thought, said, or done to somebody else. And that's what allows you to, your consciousness to be aware, to stay the line, stay the fucking line.
yeah,
Because the moment you cross it, you're in trouble. You're in
yeah,
trouble. And you can't see, if you can't see it, you know what I mean? Then you need to. But once you can see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean, bro?
yeah. No, I
Yeah,
fully agree, and actually, to further
yes.
elaborate on your point, I think that we should be staying away from. We should be refraining from consuming certain materials, if to use TikTok language, because I think you're inviting things in. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that I think the audience knows what I'm talking about. When you consume certain types of corn, we'll call it, corn, you're inviting things in, entities, spirits, and so on and so forth, into your mind, into your life, into your space, your home, and that's not always a sensible thing to do. At times it can be quite a reckless thing to do, actually. And so I agree with your point just there, where you were saying about stay the F in line. And I agree, stay within the boundaries of tapu and noa, because you don't want to find out what kind of shit can happen if you go outside of these boundaries that have been put in place to keep you safe.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I agree on the back of personal testimony of where I can lay testimony to the consequences of those actions. You know, it's called spiritual punishment. I have, but I've also been aware that, I got more lives than a cat. I shouldn't be here because of things I've said and done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
fortunately, 62 years later, I'm still here when over 40 years ago, I should not have. And that's when you go to unpack and strip layer by layer your personal encyclopedia or manual to the journey traversed through this life, to the 3.5-year-old child that I can remember, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, when a big fat gay uncle of mine penetrated my, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So everything like that, including, Jake Hickey, he didn't have shit on me, bro. You know what I mean? So, that is what shaped you to become, that person, that ugly, human being that violated, spiritual law time and time and time and time again. Every time I opened my eyes, I was violating it till the time I closed it. And once you, like I says, you peel the layers back, you unpack your own Bible, your own journey. That's when you come to the realization that, I've just come through, a generation of where, I've been a dead man walking. So why don't I just go to the edge and then jump off, because that's my debt to, to all those souls I've destroyed. Because you can't, you can't look past what you've perpetuated, to see back further to what shaped you to become that perpetual, you know what I mean? Perpetrator. And so once you're able to find, a peace, healing, understanding, and all that, you then are able to sincerely, first and foremost, forgive yourself, and then go on the journey of knowing that you'll never know, if those souls that you destroyed, let alone the ones that destroyed you, to shape you to be that, and that's not, it's taking responsibility for both, and just saying, okay, I need to count to 10 and start again. But here's the new path. Here's the line I'm going to stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get challenged along the way, bro. You get challenged. You get challenged by yourself. You get challenged just by looking in the mirror. The moment you open your eyes. So, life is, just full of challenges. How you react, is different to how you respond. So if you respond knowing very well that you've got to dig in, you know what I mean, to, dig your heels and to know that, I run out of humble pies, 20 years ago. So what have I got to chew on now? You know what I mean? My pride, denial, my ego. Yeah, so there's plenty more pies there to, you know what I mean? And when you get to a safe place to know that, oh yeah, it's easy for me to avoid, all that. Yeah, you've sincerely started counting to 10, again. And it's an ongoing process of counting to 10, because, there's this saying that goes, wherever good goes, be rest assured bad is sure to follow. And it's not a matter of if it's going to appear, but when. That is the state of, you being in tune, knowing very well that bad or that evil, it's coming, to remind you to stay the effing line. You know what I mean? To know how to deal and keep your balance. Otherwise, you're just a poko kohua. Good friend.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to thank you, Snowball, for letting me up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go and have some pig head.
Oh,
No.
lovely. Speaking of
No.
poko
I just said that because I said poko kohua.
yeah.
Anyway, much respect, bro. Love and respect to you. Thank you for giving me space and time to have a range of topics to have cordial with you about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been lovely. Thank
So-
you. Thank you for coming up.
You have anything to add or say to me before I step down, bro?
No, I don't have anything
Okay.
anything to say.
All good, my bro.
But yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. See you.
All right.
See you next time.
Ka kite. Ka
Ka kite
kite
anō.
anō.
Okay, that went really, really well, actually. It was a good conversation. He was on for, I think, most of the time that I've been up here. So that went really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed that. We have, what else do we got here? Yeah, we covered a large variety of subjects, actually. We covered the Franklin cover-up and the Epsteins and all sorts of good subjects that we covered, as well as Māori Tanga and the Pacific and the US and so on and so forth. So, yeah, that was very, very good. Very, very good conversation that was had. What do we... Interesting. Okay, I thought I had some message or something like that, but I don't think I do. Kia ora, Nux. Kia ora. Yeah, so what was I talking about? I was talking about something. Can't remember. It was something else. It was something very good. But, yeah. So, I think we're at an hour 34 minutes now. Nux, Spashy B, awesome to see you. NZ creator trying to get something like this up and going. Thank you, appreciate that. Nux, awesome live T, awesome live Snowball. Thank you, appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, it was it's been a good that was a good conversation actually. When we talked about the Georgia Guidestones or Smash Your Help Out, however. Thank you. I definitely will. I'll make you a mod. I don't know how to. How do I do this? There we go. Smashy B, you've been added. Steep Cedar, thank you. Appreciate that. James Hollins, thank you. Kia ora to you as well, James Hollins. Good to see you. Oh, you've want to come in, so okay, let's have a cordial.
Hey, how are you, brother?
Yeah, very
Kia
good,
ora.
thank you. Kia ora.
I'm so glad I got your show because I've seen a few of your things before, and one time we had a chat one night. You wouldn't remember because you talked to so many people, but I always like your show. I like your perspective, and man, last time I was there, I forgot to. I seen you. I forgot to. I didn't get a chance to ask you any questions. But can I ask you a couple of questions?
Please, by all means.
Yeah. So you obviously you speak fluent Māori.
Hmm.
Man, I want to learn. I want to learn the language. I'm Māori. I'm from South New Zealand. My tribe is Ngāi Tahu. And do you have any suggestions on how to learn? Like, I think there's a course you can do. Obviously, it's kind of embarrassing. I think if you're a Māori or Polynesian or something, and you're trying to learn the language, and then you have to learn off a course. It's a give me. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can learn cooking from a book, but really you should be, in my mind, because I'm an old person, I feel like I should be. It's almost like I should move back home because I'm in Australia, but I've got my stuff that I'm doing over here. But how do you reckon I should learn? Don't say I've got to go to YouTube. I've seen a couple of good teachers. But how do you reckon I could learn my language properly?
So here's what I would make two suggestions. Number one, have you contacted Kaikahu themselves?
Yeah, no, I've got a few. I know who some of our elders were when I was years ago when I was a kid, but I could easily find them.
Yeah, because they got their own website and
And then,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
and I'm
should be able.
registered. I'm registered there.
Yeah, that's good. And the reason why I asked that is because uh, the dialect of Te Waipounamu is very different. Very
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah,
too.
exactly,
And
exactly.
so you have to decide which dialect you want to learn. Uh, and I would not mistake you for wanting to learn your dialect because it's
Yeah,
yours. Uh, and so that's number one. So I would suggest contacting them. And the reason why I say that is because the best language acquisition method is not actually to learn words, but rather to learn common sentences or phrases, just one a
yes,
day.
yes, yes.
And so there's an app called Duolingo that does that, where they give you just one or more, but you need a minimum of one phrases or sentences in a specific language a day. And if you can remember them, which is easy, you just do it, and over several weeks you sort of drill it into your brain. You become more familiar with the language. The other thing as well, when it comes to learning a language, like I said, is deciding your dialect, because I don't think that they use the dialect for Kaikahu on that app. They use the Ngapuhi dialect, which is the one adopted by the government for teaching people. And
Yeah,
so that's the one that you'll be learning. If you're okay with that, if you're not okay with that, that's obviously something you have to decide. But I was wondering if Kaikahu, because they're incredibly onto it, people, if they have their own equivalent, something like that, where it's one or more phrases or sentences a day, and you just learn them just like that. And before you know it, you'll pick it up. Like it's not that hard. It's not as hard as people might think. So that's what I would suggest personally.
thank you. That helps me a lot because, yeah, yeah, this is crazy, man. The last time I never went to the marae to learn. So we actually learned in primary school. They were teaching us some words, and it would have been this dialect. And they taught us even how to say a basic, speech and all that. We learned that in primary school.
Mm.
But this isn't it crazy? My sister did that. They had a special class in high school at Kingswell in Invercargill. My sister went there, so she learned the language. But my sister, well, she even went to, that we have the Mutton Islands down south, and she even went to the Mutton Islands, which only our tribe can go there, or marry if you're married in. But as a young person, I knew I was Māori. My dad's Māori. My mum's Polynesian, which is but I just I knew who I was. Um but I definitely grew up with that thing. I didn't, part of me never, in New Zealand back in the day, where I was down south, I never felt at home in New Zealand in the sense that there was all these things. There was fighting and there was this and the Treaty of Waitangi. and I just realized now that I'm old, as only as you get older, that you realize the importance of your language, who you really are, your culture, and you know what I mean. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but
I know what you
now
mean.
I left at 19, so I'm like in Australia, and I left at 19 to work with a missionary group and did all this traveling all around the world and all that kind of stuff, music industry stuff, and I ended up becoming a multi-platinum songwriter in Australia. I sold 1 million units, and um, which is not much, but it's a lot when you're a
Yeah,
little songwriter. You know
that's a
what I mean?
lot. Yeah.
um, yeah. but um, but now I'm just like I have this big interest. I think I'm gonna. I'm praying. I'm either gonna keep coming back and much more trips to New Zealand, or I might end up moving back when I get older. You
Oh
know what I
wow.
mean? Or as over the next 10 years, because it's we had Australia Day over here, and I love this. Australia is the best country, man, because everyone in the whole world's right here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
you can make. I've got friends from Iraq, friends from Iran, friends from. They've got friends from Ukraine, everywhere you name the country. And but as when we had Australia Day, for the first time in years, I actually felt really homesick. I thought, this is not really my country. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
I believe in afterlife, and I have my faith, my Christian faith. But we're not in heaven right now. We're here. You know what I mean? And so I feel the and I feel for our country and our people. It's like we should be running our country for goodness sake. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like we
yeah,
should run the country. I believe we'd still have a few fights here and there because the tribes have always never agreed on everything. But I think we'll do a million times better job than the crown and whoever the crown is. Because if you look up I've seen this video on the crown, and in the video they were stating that the crown is in the inner city of London, and they operate on behalf of the Queen, and even they might pay money to the Queen, but it's not actually the crown as we know it. They're an actual the crown and the inner city of London control all that land, but really it's just like it's not really the Queen. They reckon on this video. So I don't know what you know about that, but
yeah, yeah. I know. But it's a corporation. It's very complex. But basically, the Queen is just the figurehead. It's this revolving door of bureaucrats and bankers and stuff like that. A lot of people don't know that's what the crown really is.
yeah, yeah. Just do you feel like we have this bigger attitude in New Zealand as Māori? We're like, I don't know what we're begging for and asking for. It's like that's the mentality of a slave or someone that's been conquered, but we're not conquered. So we had an agreement when you can have agreements, but if I don't know how valid or invalid that was, but if that was a valid agreement, but we could rip it up any time. They've already broken how many things in it. It's like in the Treaty of Waitangi, it's like I just don't see. This is my opinion. I don't see that. I think the Māori would look after all the Pākehā in New Zealand better, the Māori better, the lands better, the fishing rights better. We're just more loving people. Don't get me wrong. We're a bit staunch here and there. We are staunch. Like that's probably why they gave us a treaty. I'm not sure, but you know what I mean. But but yeah, I'd love to. I think we need to take our country back. Take our country back. I don't know where it's like we watch the videos in Parliament, and I love it because I can see there's at least some Māori representation in there, and sometimes they're giving the Parliament hell, and I like seeing that. It's at least you see them in there, with our culture and our language and our song and dance, but one thing I just don't like is that there needs to be a constant reminder in that Parliament that we can rip that agreement up, and this agreement stands because we allow it to stand, and think like landowners and landlords, and that they're their terms and their words, but think and talk like who you are, as opposed to we're not big in any. You know what I mean? We have a bigger mentality, and I don't know if you do. You know what I'm trying to say, brother?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And actually, I go somewhat further. I don't really give a rat's ass about the Treaty of Waitangi, if I'm honest with you. Um, this is my perspective on the matter. They won. It's just a fact. I mean, they won. They got everything they wanted. We got our asses handed to us when it comes to the Treaty of Waitangi. Uh, Not only that, Did they completely violate it, the treaty? But they violated it to the point that today, because the conditions have changed so much, we cannot uh, adhere to the Treaty of Waitangi. It's not possible. There is no British Empire anymore. There is no 500 iwi warlords anymore. The structure of Māori society has been completely changed. One of the, I use this in jest obviously, but one of the things I like to say is, to fellow Māori is, when you chose to pick up the pipe, did you ask your rangatira for permission? And
Well,
I obviously am using that, provocatively, but my point is that back in the day, when it came to something that risked your literal body, you had to ask for permission to do that. You didn't have a right to just go ahead and risk your body. And so, what's the reason that I bring that up for? It's to show just how much things have changed since the treaty was signed. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the treaty, I don't really care about it. It's irrelevant, blah, blah, blah. What I'm interested in more so going forward is functional sovereignty for Māori. As Māori, let's get together and let's build functional sovereignty. Like you said about being beggars and stuff, let's get rid of that. Let's build our own institutions. Let's build our own economy. Let's have our own credit union, and so on and so forth. Let's build something that is by Māori and for Māori. And
yeah,
let's
yeah.
leave the Pākehā and the government and so on and so forth to do whatever they want and to do as they please.
When when I said the treaty of Waitangi, I'm just saying that to be nice to people. I
Yeah.
couldn't care about the stupid treaty of Waitangi. It's like if something, especially if it's not honored, but even before that, but which is not on me to talk about the past, but that's but yeah, no, it's there's no one's going to be happy. Like you think of it in a common sense, even just basic common sense.
Yeah.
Does anyone in New Zealand they look happy to you? I went to the North Island when I was there, and I seen the what are the power stations with the from the ground getting energy from the ground. What's those hot pools? I forgot what it's called, but I seen the Māori there, and I loved it seeing them, thriving and owning stuff, and like. And the Māori names everywhere. We'll go back to New Zealand. I love that. And
Yeah.
I know how. Yeah, but no one's even happy anyway. Like just on a basic common sense level, yeah, we'll be happy under Māori rule. It's like and it's not like the Māori will just kick out all the Pākehā and all that because we're all related to them. Oh, my family's half flipping. We've got Scottish and Irish, and these aren't just Pākehā. These are my cousins. These are that's my blood too. So, and that love, that basic New Zealand love, even a basic Kiwi has, is still there. The basic, what's wrong is our leadership sucks, and they're not even leading. And to me, in my heart, they ain't even my leaders anyway. So it's wrong to even say our leaders suck to me because they ain't my leaders. They're imposters. And we're not. As you always said, we're not Westerners. You know what I mean? We don't have that same. We're not all about profit, the profit line. When I say Westerners, I'm talking about a class of Westerners. I'm talking about the upper class Westerners. They're all about profit and control, and these guys. Anytime they trade something with you, they've already worked out how they're going to get it back. They're laughing before they even you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We should, like you say, we shouldn't be playing in their game and their economy. Their economy is. It's all a borrowed economy, spending money that doesn't exist. It's like you talk about faith. These guys got more faith than the church. We all go give our money to the bank, then these guys lend it out. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like this. Talk about making something out of nothing. It's like, it's like they say, if everyone in the world goes, let me go get all the cash out of my bank that is mine. You can't get your cash out of the bank without permission. They need to know about it because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In Australia, it's like, if you get more than $70,000 out, you got to give us a week's notice. You got to, because that ain't in there. That's why.
Yeah.
They don't want everyone coming and get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars out, and it doesn't. Anyway, what I'm saying is, that's why I think I've always liked you. You're you're pro our people, you're pro. If we don't protect ourselves, then who's like the most special thing about New Zealand is the Maori people because it's the only place you can go and see one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
a very super. That's looking at it on a superficial level. But the Maori people are beautiful. They're loving. They're welcome. They're tough. You know, welcoming. They're tough. They're smart. I shouldn't talk in the third person. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's but even in thing we don't. I don't know where you're exactly your culture and area, but you know when I was brought up, we're not allowed to talk about ourselves. So I can't say I don't know. I can't say I'm good at anything. I'm not allowed to say anything. Do you know what I mean?
And
Oh
I
god,
fully agree with you. And to get back to your point about Pākehā, one of the dirty secrets of New Zealand that they don't want you to know is most Pākehā, let's be honest, have Māori in them.
yeah, that's right.
You go back far enough, and there's a Māori tupuna there somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think everyone, even if you're not Māori, you've already adapted some of the Māori culture and the Māori values, and even but yeah, brother, I think we need to take our country back, not just for Māori, but for Pākehā, for everyone who lives in New Zealand, because this class war that goes on, it's existed. Even the slave trade. If you look into when I looked into the slave trade, and I never believe anything unless it comes from the horse's mouth. I don't believe just. And I seen a video of one of these African guys telling the history of slavery, and he's like, you have a class of people that are trading with each other. These are upper class wars, like the Portuguese, the chief Africans, the rich white Americans, who are probably the most innocent in the chain, because these Americans thought they were doing the Africans a favor because some of them were prisoners of war. That's why the Americans are like, we haven't done anything. We saved these guys. These guys would have been dead without us, and it's a little bit true because a lot of the damage I think was done by Brazil, the Portuguese, the rich Africans. It's always a class of people making decisions for us, and I think that hopefully with Māori that we won't have that. Just a class of people above us deciding for us, but they don't live with our problems. They don't live in our world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're a class above, so they don't. And if you think of even your wealthy friends and my wealthy friends, they live in a different world, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys will go on holiday. These guys go on holidays, and I remember during COVID, there's rich people here in their big boats just got in their boats and drove up to Queensland and paid the fines. What's a fine to them? It's nothing. They incorporate the fine into their holiday as they get on their big boat. You know what I mean? Rich people don't. You know what I mean? But we need to. That's why I think the Māori people in general, to generalize, are down to earth. But we're smart. But we're down to earth. We don't live above. And neither do good Pākehā. Any good person from any culture doesn't live so far above their culture that they can't feel what happens, to our poor people or people that are struggling. And bro, if we run the country, would be no poor people. There's so much money in fisheries, billions of dollars. There's so much money in even rare earth minerals if we got any. There's so much money in sovereignty and owning your own banks, having your own bank. There's so much money in sovereignty. It's like we would be like Dubai. I almost guarantee we would be Dubai, because we're savvy to all the things that matter, starting with family, starting with basic respects of your elders. These are the things that hold the whole society together. Respect for your elders and your family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And our potential is enormous. And we could definitely get this country going if we were to band together and do so. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. But man, yeah. But I love what you say, brother. I appreciate where you come from. Every time I've heard you, you know way more history than me. I don't know that history. My thing is I just love the Māori people, and I feel for our people. I feel and some are thriving. You know, it's not like all the Māoris are broke. There's some rich Māoris. We have all classes too, but you know, I hope that more people will wake up that are Māori and Kiwis that will wake up and think, hey, how's this country going to be run better for the benefit of everyone that's on these shores? I'm dying. I'm living for the day when someone might walk into that parliament in New Zealand and go, we're not coming here anymore. We're setting up our own parliament, and we're thinking about inviting you. I said we're thinking about it. We'll go back and have a vote with our elders, and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Until then,
Stay
because,
where you are.
and then go, this is our parliament house. Oh, dude. But,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's cool.
and it's a bit more easy for us because I feel for the you know don't get me wrong, there's a lot of beautiful Australians, man. I wouldn't say, and beautiful Kiwis of all that, but you know, the one thing, the poor Indigenous here in Australia, they can't do that. There's like, last time I checked, there's like 200 languages, 500 dialects. These guys need a miracle or someone with a lot of love and a lot of mana to go around and talk, you know, have a talk with there, because it's 200 languages. Come on. We don't have that issue. Our fights are going to be smaller. Our disagreements between different tribes are going to be a lot less. And I think we all know that, hopefully we all know as Māori that surely you'd rather deal with a fellow Māori than someone that has no stake, you know, real, you know, long-term or historical stakes in the land that you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Indigenous in Australia have very different cultures to one another as well. They're not the same culture. Yeah. So they're very diverse.
Yeah, you can't, because I mean, what are the criticisms of the Indigenous? You know, they say, "Oh, why doesn't someone just stand up for you guys and speak?" And they don't realize that these are different countries within the one continent. Like they're different country, and that even with us, we are different. There's boundaries and different laws and different, you know, language, and you know, to be respected. So.
Yeah, but we have a shared sort of culture, you know, tikanga Māori, a shared sort of language more or less. But the Indigenous in Australia, like, they're vastly different to one another. Very, like you said, countries. These are countries, different countries with very different cultures and languages and so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. So they have a harder job, but nothing's impossible. I don't want to be too naive, but say when there's love, sincere love and caring for people, nothing's impossible. You can go to your neighbor, you can go to another country and make peace and talk and work together. And we all know how the world's gone under the Western system, and it's not all bad, but there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad. Like it's the profit. The thing is, we'll let in the Western world. On a different topic, but the Western world will let the people that worry about profit margins run everything. So everything's on a what do you call that economy? A money economy. So they want everything on a meter. So they don't want to, you know, even if you know a little bit about science or a little bit about living, you know that the sun provides energy for this whole solar system and this planet. It's like, so you'd have to be dumb not to be working with the sun. The sun is what powers all the, you know, that's photosynthesis. All the plants, that's how it produces energy through the plants, and the animals eat the plants, and we eat the animals or eat the plants. And so we're getting our energy ultimately from the sun. But these guys, they don't want to work with the natural way of this world. There's a natural way of things. They don't want to do that because they can't charge. You know, you can't charge for oil if it's unless it's running out. So they always tell us it's running out. And I heard another scientist who was the head of rail for energy in the energy summits in America, and he said oil is the second most prevalent liquid on the planet Earth after water. after water. But Rockefeller or whoever those guys are, they were like, we can't tell people that we're never going to run out of oil, pretty much, because it gets replenished or this kind of stuff. They say it's fossil fuels or something, but it's like, I'm sorry, there's no fossil fuels where you're getting some of this oil. There's no fossils down there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
Like, so it's like, everything I'm saying, everyone, you'd have to research yourself to double check what I'm saying, but this is to my understanding, yeah?
No, I
So,
fully agree with you. I've researched that peak oil is a lie. It's an absolute lie.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
not
yeah.
only that, but we can artificially make oil. There's something else they
Yeah.
don't talk about.
Oh, yes, synthetic, that's right.
Yeah.
This is synthetic or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
you're kidding me, of course.
yeah. And so it's a total lie.
And this is their philosophy. Their philosophy is you have an economy that has a meter that you can pay. Without a meter, you can't keep charging people, and that's why the whole almost everything online you see it's all subscription because they're like you have to keep subscribing so they can keep getting cash flow and control out of you every year. You pay or every month you're paying subscription because God forbid that anything was free. Even the air they want to tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's it?
Yeah.
Carbon? What's the
Carbon
CO2?
taxes. Yeah. And it's like people don't think of it like this, but it's like a plank of wood that goes on for infinity, and then taking
Yeah.
that and chopping up bits of it into tiny pieces and selling that to us. Well, that's essentially what they're doing with oil. It's so abundant. There's so much of it, and yet we're sold it in a drip feed sort of fashion.
Yeah. And it's like you can't tell me that I bet you without I'm gonna go look at it when I get on, but you can't tell me that those insurance companies that are apparently blocking all those ships trying to send oil right now, you can't tell me they don't have another link somewhere else. It's in their best interest not to. They stopped. Apparently, that's part of the price thing. They've stopped insuring ships that go through one of the Gulfs. So it's like, I don't know the finer details, but so it's like this reporter claims that none of the countries that are trying to stop this. It's just that the insurance companies are now using the oil. Now we're not insuring these oil ships. So that's what stopped all the ships. And I think a couple of ships have just thought, nah, we're going, and they're moving their product. So that's one of the things. But you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, of all things, an insurance company, how the heck are they? Like, you can see how the world really works, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
So everyone, yeah. What's the other insurance companies for that? Yeah. It's just another one is water. Oh, please tell me they haven't sold too much water rights to overseas companies. Please tell me they haven't done that, have they?
No, thankfully they
Oh,
haven't.
fair. Oh,
And the
all right.
only thing that's protected it, contrary to popular belief, has been iwi.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all the proof. That's all the proof you need. They're like, oh, sell our water. They're like the Eewees are like, oh, sell our water. You think we're dumb now? What
Yeah.
what can you do without water? Oh, I don't want to put down the rest of the world, but Australia sold, I think, water rights to America. I think China. It was like everyone over here is like, why have we sold water rights? We need that water.
Exactly
It's
right.
again. And this is what the iwi would do for everything, I believe,
Yeah, no, I
because they
fully
look at
agree.
it. They look at it. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad. What you just told me, you've made my day by telling me that, man. It just proves exactly what we're saying. It's
Yeah,
said in love. It's said in common sense. What we're saying. It's not said in. it's it's said with some proof. You know what I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Evidence based.
bro? If the Māori were if we were just savages and just staunch, we are staunch and we can be savage. But if we were just those things alone, the parliament would be burnt down right now. Do you know what happened in Samoa? There's a thing called the mole, and New Zealand kidnapped one of the head of state, who was a Christian and a peaceful man. Yeah, they took advantage of that. He said, "No, we're going to go the way of peace." They kidnapped him. I think they took him to New Zealand, and then they killed him. Somehow he ended up dead. the Samoans in Samoa killed every white person or every half caste or whatever on the island
I didn't know
because
that.
they were so
Yeah.
something like that, yeah, something like that. Just thing me for the finer details, but this is in general what happened, and it's called the mole. And so these guys, and that because they were so angry because they were thinking, how do you do this? This guy was a Christian telling us to go peaceful, don't fight, don't shed blood, and then you killed him. So the Samoans were furious. But I'm saying the Māori ain't like that. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Māoris have never done anything savage, but I'm saying if the Māori could just be like, all right, that we've had enough now. We've got some homeless people. We've got this. Our people don't own enough. We're not in control. This, we're belittled. You've spat on that treaty that, you know what I mean? You've done all these things, and the Māori could just go, we're burning down Parliament. We're taking back the country. And, you know, I'm pretty sure most New Zealand wouldn't even stop them because they hate their government. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's going to come and defend you? They'll be like, the Pākehās in New Zealand, or even when it's not Māori in New Zealand, they're going, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but please do a good job because surely you have to be better than these morons. It's like, it's not going to take much to be better.
Well, I mean, it's kind
Anyway.
of like what Hone Heke did at Kororareka. I remember arguing with the Pākehā about this. And I said, do you remember what he did? And he was like, he didn't want to answer. And I said he rounded up all the Pākehā in the town, put them on the ship and told them, all right, bye-bye. Now, if Māori were such savages, then why is it that if a group of British soldiers had done the same to a Māori village and come across an undefended Māori town or village, you know what would have happened? And it wouldn't have been that. They wouldn't have just rounded them up and put them on a ship or whatever and told them to leave. You know it would have been a hell of a lot more ugly. And he was like, no, that's not true. And it's like, yeah, you know that's true. And so it's just getting back to attacking this sort of savage stereotype that you were attacking. It's BS. It's not true. It's much more nuanced and complex than people often portray.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. They don't. What's this? I think the colonization. I think the colonization ideology or idea comes from Hellenization, what the Greeks did, and they like to take over. They take over, and then sooner or later you're going to surrender and think it's better for us. Our culture is better to just go with this new culture, and you don't love your language. In the colonization ideology, I think you end up not loving your language. Then you end up telling other people that want to learn your language, you tell them it's a waste of time, and you know what I mean? Like you end up becoming the evangelists for the people that conquered you. You end up on their side, you're spitting out their rhetoric towards your own people. You know what I mean? I think that's what happens in colonization. You know, if they're successful, you end up other Māori going to other Māori, oh, let's just move on, and you know, we don't need to learn our language and our beliefs, and anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that was what Jesus was protesting against, the Hellenization of his people. That's why they put his ass on a cross.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's
it's the same story. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, who was King Herod and them? They were Hellenized or colonized Jews, essentially. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the Jewish history is a lot of that, man. They always ended up. Look, I think they got in trouble in the Old Testament. I don't know how accurate. I think this is right. I'm pretty sure it is, but I'd have to double check. They got in trouble in their history because it's like God sent them out. God let the Babylons conquer them, and I think when they started doing things like sacrificing their kids, they got punished. So that's in the Bible story. I know that's not everyone's, belief or history, but that's when they started getting in trouble. But yeah, the poor Jews are always under, and there's different classes of Jews. For goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's different Jews from around the world. So when you talk about the Jews, there's religious Jews. There's religious Jews in New York that apparently go around and protest every year, but you never hear about them. They protest on behalf of the Palestinian people. Do you know what I mean? And they say they're all the religious Jews. they say we shouldn't be there, we shouldn't be doing that, and blah blah blah. But now I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna start talking about people's outside of my pay grade.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was about to mention, some of the rich Jews and families and that, and the new, but I won't mention them.
It's complex. It's complex. There's a lot of players. Yeah, put it that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of place. Yeah.
Anyway,
But
it was very good to talk
yeah,
to you.
lovely.
I have to go, finishing this live soon, but thank you for calling in.
Yeah,
And
no
I
worries,
hope to
no
talk to you
worries,
again in
brother.
the future.
Yeah, love to, man. I'm following your stuff, brother.
Thank
Kia ora,
you.
kia
Thank you.
kite.
Ka kite. And for everyone else in the chat and stuff, thank you for comments and likes and so on and so forth. And I've appreciated having you here, and hope to see you again next time that I go live on TikTok. So thank you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you.